Good morning. Welcome to the Economic Development Authority meeting. We'll get started here. It's July 1st, 2021 at 7:31 a.m. And so we're meeting at the City Council chambers here. So we'll call to order. Mr. Chansky, if you call the commissioners in order, please.
Absolutely. Bevins.
Here.
O'Day.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Beezer.
Here.
Kirsch.
Here.
And Erickson.
Here. All right. We'll have the approval of the amendment or approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move Johnson.
Move to approve, Bevins.
Second Johnson.
And we'll have to vote by roll call. Good to have you on board there, Kelly. Mr. Chansky.
For,
would you-
Mr. Chair, only for 15 minutes. I apologize. My plane is leaving.
Good, thank you for the 15 minutes. All right.
Bevins.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Beezer.
Yes.
Kirsch.
Yes.
And Erickson.
Yes, that is approved, the agenda, and I hope you had a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting. We'll need a motion to approve the minutes from the last June 3rd meeting.
So move Johnson.
Move. Second, Bevins.
Vote, roll call, Mr. Chansky.
Bevins.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Beezer.
Yes.
Kirsch.
Yes.
And Erickson.
Yes, that is approved, and so
Charlie, do you vote?
if there's nothing else, we'll move on to the financial report. Did you all get a chance? Connie, can you give us an update, please?
Okay, we did get the 70% of our tax settlement in June, so you'll be seeing an increase in the EDA cash balance in the Fund 295. And by the end of June, the workshop consultant was paid for as well.
All right, any comments? All right, I'll need a motion to approve the financial report.
Motion. Beezer.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Mr. Chansky, vote by roll call.
Bevins.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Beezer.
Yes.
Kirsch.
Yes.
And Erickson.
Yes, thank you for that. And we'll move on now to our updates. Executive Director Dave Chansky, would you fill in for Jennifer?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Jennifer's on vacation, so
So does
unable to join us today. Just a few brief updates. First on one on the Parking Commission. The Parking Commission continues to do some work. They actually held a town hall meeting on Tuesday, June 8th, looking to hear from the public regarding any questions, concerns, comments they wanted to have on parking, specifically in the downtown area. We did have a number of property owners and business owners from the downtown attend that meeting. The commission then met on a week later, I think on the 17th, for the regular meeting of the month. And in July, they'll actually be coming together and all presenting kind of their package of what they think that the EDA should be doing, or the Parking Commission should be doing, and what parking should look like. And I think they have some goals of trying to get some good recommendations put together and submitted to the City Council, I think by the end of the year. The City Council approved an amendment to the city's food truck ordinance that is now fully in effect. What that amendment did, it did three main things. Change the operational times of food trucks to universal 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Previously, it was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in most areas, with the downtown, the MP Center allowed till 2 a.m. We just went to a 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. across the city. Also allows food trucks to operate in all commercial and industrial districts except our B1 neighborhood business district, as well as CLC and ISD 181 properties with their permission. Previously, we call it overlay district, where there are only certain little bubbles around the city that food trucks were allowed to operate in. Now we're saying pretty much if it's a commercial or industrial property, or a CLC or ISD 181 property with private property owners' approval, they still have to be operating on private property with that property owner's approval, then they can operate anywhere in the city. And the final thing is the previous code had a restriction that said food trucks cannot operate within 300 feet of the property line of a restaurant or bar that serves food, and that restriction was eliminated, so there's no more of that distance. restrictions. So that officially went into effect, I think it was actually Monday, this past Monday. The Planning Commission received a presentation from a developer who's looking to do a project in downtown Brainerd. I believe the HRA received the same presentation, and the City Council will be receiving this presentation and looking for support for a mixed unit development for the old thrifty, I should say, the old thrifty white building. That building and the associated parking lot there. They're looking to build a building that has first floor tenant space, looking about five units of tenant space, I think it's about 14,000 square feet of tenant space for commercial, and then 36 apartments on 3 floors above that. So I said they went before the Planning Commission in June to give the Planning Commission's kind of support for the project. They went before the HRA, I believe the HRA, and Eric or John might speak to this as well, passed a resolution of support, and they'll be going before the City Council on Tuesday. The City Council doesn't meet Monday because of the observance of the 4th of July. So they'll be meeting Tuesday to get some council support for the project as well. What they're doing right now is they're putting together a packet for low-income housing tax credit packet that is due July 15th. So they're working on getting the financing together for this project that, if it goes underway, would begin starting with a full demolition of that old building in likely late summer of 2022. At the end later on the agenda, you see you have a sesquicentennial update from Jesse, our communications intern. So I'll save that for then. Two last things. It's kind of update on the zoning code update. I think I've presented to the EDA before that the city we are in the process of fully rewriting our zoning code. On July 12th, the City Council will actually be holding a workshop with our consultants, at which time the consultants will be presenting the City Council with what we call the annotated outline for the new code. What this outline pretty much says is this is what the new code is going to look like. And these, from the zoning districts and really kind of how the philosophy of the code is changing. From there, once they get the blessing from the City Council on annotated outline, then we're going to get into diving headfirst into ordinance language. So we are progressing well with the zoning code update. The last thing is a little update on ARP. You'll see we didn't have anything in this agenda regarding the American Rescue Plan. The reason is, again, we really hadn't had any new information since our last meeting. At this time, what has happened is that it's coming Tuesday, right? On Tuesday, staff will be having a resolution going before the City Council to submit an application to the city, or request, I don't know what it is, request or an application to the state to request our first allotment of our ARP funds, which is the amount of which has yet to be determined. So what the state has said is you have to request it. We haven't determined what we're going to give you yet, but you need to request it. So that is be going before the City Council on Tuesday to approve that application to then request our first allotment of ARP funds, the amount of which we'll find out hopefully in July. And do you have any additions to that, Connie? Is that pretty covered? With that, Mr. Chair, that's all I have. If there are any questions from the commission.
I have one on the food truck. Was that motivated by the food truck people, or how did that come about?
I think how that came about was it started last year in 2020. We saw with COVID an increase in food truck activity, especially with cancellation of fairs and such. And so we actually brought it before the City Council near the end of the summer last year. The council directed it to go to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission worked through the issue and brought these recommendations to the City Council. We actually have also in this year seen an increase in food truck applications. Normally we get maybe like 1 or 2, and they're coming for a one-off. They want to come for a weekend or 2. And we actually have 4 food trucks licensed right now, of which at least 3 regularly operate within city limits. The 4th comes up a couple times a year, but the other 3 operate quite regularly on specific days throughout the city. So we actually have seen an increase in that. Other issues we saw is wanting to see some food trucks wanting to collaborate with other businesses in town, for example, Five Rocks Distillery. And because of both that the restriction of the 300 feet from another restaurant or bar that serves food, they're less than 300 feet from Secure Express, and because they weren't in the current overlay district, they couldn't partner with Five Rocks. And that was another thing that kind of spurred that along, is some other businesses saying, hey, we really like to partner with these food trucks saying we like to partner with these businesses, but because of your current ordinance, we can't currently do that. This change allows them to do that.
So it did come from other businesses to get this changed.
Correct.
Good, good. Any other thing from the commissioners, anything else? Okay, thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. How about the HRA? Eric and John?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Just a couple of quick updates today. David mentioned really the redevelopment project that's going to be occurring. We hope that is going to be occurring in downtown of the Thrifty White. At our recent board meeting on the 23rd, our board did pass a resolution of support for TIF, tax increment financing, for that redevelopment project that is being planned. It's a resolution of support. That's not a resolution saying that we are going to be authorizing it, because a lot of pieces still need to fall into place, and the developer needs to get this financing for low-income housing tax credits before they're going to move forward. So really, this is a resolution that is in support of the project, so they can use that on their application to get more points to then hopefully get funded for that. So our board did authorize that. We also authorized a letter of support for the developer to look into utilizing, for the HRA to utilize some project-based vouchers for some of those planned 36 units that are up there. These project-based vouchers, as some of you may know, we run the Housing Choice Voucher Program, formerly known as Section 8 housing, and that's where the HRA will pay up to a certain, the tenant, if they do qualify for a voucher, they pay up to 30% of their income towards the rent. And if there's a gap, those vouchers do cover that gap. So this project-based voucher would basically look at and put X amount of vouchers into that building for a certain amount of time. So that, again, helps the developer know that hopefully there will be tenants in a number of those units, and that there is that support from, the housing authority. So again, this is a process for the HRA. We've never done a project-based voucher. We're in the process of getting that updated in our administrative plan with HUD, and it looks like it could be a good tool for us to utilize, not just in this potential development, but any development. It's a good thing that we could potentially use. So exciting information there. We're digging into it as an agency. Anytime you're looking at adding a program with federal regulation, it takes a little bit of time to chunk through that, but we'll get through that, and this is kind of the first step to doing that. Changing gears a little bit to our Crow Wing County HRA hat. We are also working with, and I may have mentioned this in prior months, the Minnesota Housing Partnership, MHP, and specifically with our Housing Trust Fund as we try to get this moving. The team from MHP will actually be coming up to visit our area in late July. And so we're going to be communicating out, and I did send out an email to 18 of our local units of government and townships, things like that, all within the county. Did that late yesterday to try to get some information back from them. We want to identify potential development and redevelopment properties throughout the county, and just understand what our partners envision for their respective jurisdictions as far as development of new or revitalized housing stock, larger developments, smaller developments. So we would like to bring them together with our consultants, MHP, when they're up here, and just to make sure that we're, from a county perspective, utilizing this housing trust fund in the best way, best manner for the whole county. Now, again, that doesn't mean that all 18 jurisdictions are going to come to the table, but we certainly expect some of the larger communities to be involved with this, and make sure that we're all moving in the same direction is the big thing. So we're excited for that opportunity, and we'll certainly update you on how that goes. Lastly, we are starting a large boiler and water heater replacement project in our North Star building. Hopefully you're all familiar with what that North Star building is. If not, it's over adjacent to the high school field, houses 162 units of public housing there. We were in need of a boiler replacement. We have a slow drip that's turned into a steady leak over there. So we are going to be putting in a good amount of infrastructure there. Like I said, water heater and boiler, estimated cost about $840,000. So that's a good amount of money that we're going to put back into that building. Luckily, we've got the funds in our capital improvement budget, so we're able to do that before any major catastrophe occurs. We need to keep water flowing, we need to keep hot water flowing into that building. Never a good time to find those leaks, but happy that we've got the funds to do it and don't have to wait on it. But that is a good impact to a building in kind of that river to rail area that we're going to be improving, and we do take pride in our buildings and how we keep them up. And we're just excited to move forward with that. Hoping to wrap that project. We were originally hoping to wrap it by August, end of August, due to length of time and getting some of those materials right now. Might be into September, but we're continuing to push with them. So if anyone has any questions of me, if not, I'll turn it over to John.
Yes.
Thanks, Wayne. Eric, is the high rise at risk of just collapsing out of the blue?
I'm not a structural engineer. I do not believe so. I think what you saw in Florida with some of the anecdotal evidence that's coming out there, a lot of that salt water getting into concrete that has been deteriorating, and then that deteriorates that rebar. You know, we don't have deteriorating concrete to the best of my knowledge in that building, so I would not suspect that we're at risk of a failure like that.
Any saltwater infiltration?
No saltwater infiltration up here, thankfully.
Good. Good to hear. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chair Erickson, members of the council. Continue to work for our Northeast Small Cities Rehab Grant. Continue to look for owner-occupied and single-family rental rehab in that area. Time is getting close on that grant, so we have been continuing our marketing efforts and will continue to do so. Brainerd Oaks development, we did close on another 4 more lots, June 18th. You'll see in the update there that we have sold 1 in Delmar Estates now, so we're up to 2. Serene Pines was another, and 2 in Brainerd Oaks. So last I spoke with that developer, he faces the same issues most other people do, supply issues. Last I heard it was trusses. So he does have 4 foundations in the ground in Brainerd Oaks, and Serene Pines he's wrapping 2 up there. So he continues to move forward, but he is a little limited. So any questions for me?
Commissioner?
Thank you.
No one. Thank you, John. Ladek, Tyler?
New chair, new spot here, so not up on the technology. Good morning, everyone. I have my update right here. I was on vacation last week, or most of last week, so I apologize that it wasn't in your packet. A few updates from Bladek. We continue to make our retention and expansion visits. That is part of the overall agreement that we have with the EDA. So we're continuing to make those. As we've talked about in the past, some of the responses that we're getting certainly are around technology assistance, as well as getting some feedback on what other programs are available. And we have some businesses that are asking us to try and make it a bit more transparent when grants or offers of assistance from either the state or the Initiative Foundation or other organizations are put out to the public, which, unless you're actually signed in to get their emails or to get their updates, you're probably, as a business owner, you're probably not seeing those. So we're putting a program into place that will identify those and make them available to the masses, I guess, that we have access to. Our distribution list now, through the grant process that we did, is up over about 1,200 people actually have access to our information. And the redevelopment of our website is going to make a difference on that as well. So we'll be able to put some more information out there. We'll also share if those grants do become available or opportunities become available, we'll put that out on our social media channels, which are getting followed on a fairly regular basis now. So that's what's coming out of that, which is good information, I think, for us, is so that we identify that for our, especially for our Brainerd-based businesses, we're starting to understand what their needs are and starting to understand that we have the capacity and the capability to access that information, but also to work with them to make sure that they have it. So it's important for us to do that. It's important for this board to be able to know that that information is getting out to our business owners. We did complete another unified fund loan. So far we've completed 2 loans in 2021. Both have Brainerd addresses, but as we found out through the grant program, they aren't in Brainerd proper. So they have Brainerd addresses. They're in unorganized territory, but the last one we did was a purchase by Phil's Plumbing and Heating. They purchased the old, I think it's AT Sleds building, which was the vacant building just to the north of, what's the? Pirates Cove. Good call, Eric. Yep, Pirates Cove, right on 371 there. I get it mixed up with Cart Country, but so they have purchased that building. That loan is closing today. We closed our portion of it yesterday in our unified fund meeting. So, and again, Tiffany is attending our meetings. So she's doing a nice job, and hard to replace Gabe, but she's doing a good job, Gabe. So. Those 2 loans, so that brings our total funds dispersed since the program's inception up to 1.21 million. Total loans funded 17, and then we track the total jobs retained and created, which right now is at 196. This new loan that we did, that number isn't inclusive of of the loan we just completed yesterday, which is going to add 17 new jobs. These are plumbing, these are technicians, these are going to be good jobs for our area. He indicated to us the average hourly salary is about $23 to $24 an hour. So good jobs coming, and these are jobs that obviously as kids are in school right now, picking a program, picking a trade, they're doing some good work there, and we're excited to get those types of jobs through to this area. So again, I always track the loans to the Brainerd businesses, and with Brainerd addresses, I include those. We can argue at length whether we should or not, but they are Brainerd businesses. We do track them as Brainerd loans. So we've done 7 to date out of the 17 for $469,000. We are continuing to update our database for the Brainerd businesses and hope to have that completed by the end of this summer. We're working through some of the new requests for funding and assistance that we've received. We are getting some random calls. It's not consistent right now, which it was previously, but we are getting some random calls right now. I think as the ARP information becomes a bit more readily available and people are starting to understand where this money is at and that the county has received those funds, we are getting a couple more calls, requests, trying to understand whether or not there's going to be grants available with this. And as of right now, the county doesn't have any plans to put grants out there. So we'll keep everybody posted on that, but as of right now, that's not in their plans. But again, we have quite a bit of time to utilize these funds. The last thing I wanted to update everyone on is that when we completed, I know we gave an update on our child care study and the things that we had done with that. This has obviously become a pretty hot topic. It's a hot topic throughout the state, and I would say that we're farther ahead of this than anybody else. We have about a 9-month jump start on the data and the total numbers. But when we started this program, or when we jumped into this 9 months ago, working with First Children's Alliance, working with the Initiative Foundation, and trying to understand where our gaps were coming from and where our true numbers really are for Crow Wing County. We've determined at this point that we're about 1,100 slots short. So in Crow Wing County alone, we're roughly 1,100 slots short for available childcare. Now, I want to preface this by stating that we don't know what that number is going to be when everybody goes back to work. So if people had been working from home, they're they weren't identifying as having open slots or having that their kids needed daycare services. So the number could get worse. It could get a lot worse, actually. But we'll keep monitoring that. But that is one of the focuses that we are working on through the county, is to identify how we can provide some funding to hopefully sustain some models that will get us moving forward with this. We're working very closely with the YMCA. We're having conversations with Teeny Bubbles, with Stepping Stones, with all of our center-based providers, to try and understand where their greatest needs are at, and then bring a plan back to the county to hopefully have them put some of these funds towards that. It is an eligible expense. We know that. So we're working through that. Anybody has any questions for that offline, I'd be happy to answer them. There's some really creative things that have been brought to our attention, and I think that if it is sustainable, of course everybody wants to say, well, fix it and just be done with it. Well, we can't fix it. It's never going to be fixed. We have dropping out. We have there's subsidies that even at-home daycares have to deal with, and it's, as you look at the model, what they're paying these folks, and then what even a home-based daycares make, it's not a sustainable business model. It just isn't right now with the funding. So hopefully we can get some things in front of the commissioners to have them consider moving some of these ARP funding to this. And because of the length of time they have with this, if we put a good program in place, because the money has to be identified, its use has to be identified by the end of 2024, but you have until 2026 to actually allocate the funds. So if we look at that 5-year window, if we can get a program in place that helps sustain, especially our center-based daycare facilities, we hope that that's going to be something that pushes them into the future. So that's what we're working on right now, along with a lot of other things, but that's kind of our primary focus. Hope to have our new website, should be operational by the 1st of August. So anybody has any questions, happy to answer, but Mr. Chair, that's all I have today.
Thank you, Tyler. Anyone have questions, comments, commissioners? Great report. It's exciting to hear about the daycare and that whole process. 1,100 people, or 1,100 kids are looking for daycare.
That's what we're being told, yes. But again, the other counties that I speak with, we're leaps and bounds ahead of the other counties surrounding us as far as the data that we've gathered and how far ahead of this, how we're out in front of it, which is what most counties right now are not out in front of this. So it's Cass County, we're hearing similar numbers. So it's a big problem.
Great. Thank you, Tyler, for
Yep.
that work on that process of it. Okay, good. Old business, adoption of the missions and goals. Mr. Chansky, would you update us there, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I do that, I think I just want to note that Commissioner Bevins has dropped off. So moving forward, we don't have to do anything by roll call anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
So on June 3, we as staff, we brought before you some draft goals and a mission based off of the strategic planning retreat that you held in May. You had just a few comments, we had discussion through that. Therefore, we brought them back now for your official adoption. In that mission, we made the one change of removing that word education. And then for the goals, based off the discussion that was had, we listed those as 2021 to 2022 goals. Will we be able to achieve all these goals in 2 years? Maybe not. However, we felt that was a good first, as you said, the first set of goals. I think there's a lot we can achieve in the next 18, especially really the next 18 months. So put these as the 2021-22 goals, and then next fall, having that opportunity to, again, reevaluate, figuring out what's been a success, what have we done, and then being able to amend the goals to add maybe new issues have come up, other goals we've addressed, and those can come off. Also with those goals as well is I attached a draft of a kind of a goals status spreadsheet. This is something similar we do with the city council with the city's goals. And what this really does is it breaks down each of the 5 goals and then some of the strategies and steps that we've identified for achieving those goals, a status, and then who is responsible for that. So you'll see a lot of them are pending because they're ongoing, or is this something that those action steps, they have a specific order, they follow each other. But we have started on those, as Tyler mentioned. BLADEC is actively doing their business visits. So as we get more information for those businesses, then we can move into the assessing those needs and creating and drafting programs to address those needs, or other ideas, way to address those needs and bring those to the commission. Under another goal, and I'll say these aren't necessarily in order as to they are in that mission and goals sheet. How we did them in the status is we kind of put them under the heading of who's really the responsible entity. So these first few, they have the city of Brainerd being the creating programs, seek funding to address the needs, the inventory of underused and underdeveloped properties, and to evaluate the city's vacant industrial property for compatible non-industrial uses. Those are ones that we as the city are taking the forefront on, obviously working with other partners, but we're taking the forefront of those. The second, there's a goal for BLADEC. Again, that's the interviewing businesses to identify each business individual need and strategies under that. And then we also identified that the cohesive marketing strategy goal, that's really a goal that is going to involve a lot of other community partners. So we kind of listed as other community partners. Administrator Jennifer Bergman, she's really taking the staff lead from the city's perspective on that right now, and is working at this time to identify who those other partners might be. And I think she's actually planning on bringing a potential proposal to the EDA for discussion in August. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to be using to update you. I think our initial intention, as we are just getting going, is to bring an update to you every month, knowing that there may be, with some of these goals, some months there might not be much change. And then once we kind of really get going with our goals, it might move to more like a kind of a quarterly update versus a monthly update. So at this point, I'll take any comments or questions that the commission has on the goals, the specific mission and goals, or the goals status sheet, and then I'll recommend that the commission adopt the EDA mission and 2021-2022 goals.
Okay, commissioners, questions, comments, please? Anyone?
I have a motion when you're ready.
I'd just like to make one comment. Well, we can take the motion. Let's take the motion.
Okay, I move to adopt the City of Brainerd Economic Development Authority mission and the 2021-2022 goals as presented in the packet.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and seconded. I just have one comment. I really like the way this is laid out. It really challenges us to see what's before us and have a way to possibly accomplish this. I think it's kind of an aggressive goals, but I think it challenges all of us to, are we, as an EDA, stepping up? And again, in the past, the EDA hasn't done what it should have been doing. And this really challenges, I think, the commission and the city too, to try to, and BLADEC. And so thank you very much. Great job on this. So we have a motion and a second. Let's vote, shall we? All in favor?
Yep, you can be a voice vote.
Yeah. All in favor of the goals and the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It has been carried through.
All right, let's go.
So, thank you. How about the 22 budget calendar? Mr. Chansky, again, I'm going to ask you if you'll update us on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as we officially have turned the calendar into July, we as staff are starting to looking forward toward the budgets. We're already started looking from the city side. We've actually been looking at pieces of the budget for the last few months already. But we really start getting into big budget discussions. So as myself and Connie and Jennifer discussed, we said we wanted to put a calendar together, especially with the new goals that you just adopted. looking at potential, we have ARP funds coming and other such things that the EDA might want to get a jump start kind of on the budget. As you can see in the proposed calendar, there are really 4 dates that are identified. The first being today, which you would set your calendar, August 5th, which is your next meeting. That would be at that meeting you'd set your levy and have a discussion on budget priorities. Then on September 7th, staff, we would bring back a preliminary budget based off of those priorities for you to discuss. And then possibly on October 7th, you could vote to adopt the 2022 budget. By adopting this calendar, it does not lock you into these dates. I think the one date that we do need to have is August 5th of setting our levy. That does need to be set. I guess it could be set on September 2nd, but really should be set as soon as possible. So then when the city council adopts the city's preliminary levy, again, as a reminder, the EDA's levy is part of the city's preliminary levy. So that needs to be set and sent to the city council for approval prior to the city setting its preliminary levy in September. And again, that levy is set by statute, so it's a specific amount based off of the city's total market value. So it's not really, it's pretty much, it is what it is, unless the EDA wants to go less than that amount. Historically, the EDA has always chosen to have the top levy the max amount by statute. And then again, that discussion, and then you could adopt as soon as October 7th. You don't have to adopt your full budget on October 7th. You really have until the beginning of December to adopt your budget. It just has to be adopted before the city adopts its budget, generally in the middle of December. So that just kind of keeps the EDA on track and kind of what we're looking at for budget-wise. At this time, we're kind of looking at any comments, questions, direction that the EDA has regarding this calendar, and give staff direction if you'd like to move forward with this proposed calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Jansky. I have a question about the funds. I know there's been a lot of comments about the ARP funds coming in, and there's been some discussion on we should have some kind of a plan to use these funds, or at least some direction there. And I'm wondering, maybe Connie can help, or Dave, what can we do in that direction?
So I can maybe address that a little bit. So the plan is right now is that the city would see 50% of their allocation, like the end of July, first part of August, and receive the other 50% in a year from now. We do have until December 31st, 2024 to obligate those funds, and we have until December 31st, 2026 to actually spend the funds. So that's if we're using it for a large infrastructure project that isn't completed at the 2024 deadline, that you actually have 2 more years to spend it, but it does have to be in a contract and obligated. Dave, Mr. Chansky gave an update on what those funds could be spent on. We know that there's basically 4 categories, similar to what we use the ARP or the CARES dollars for to fight the pandemic. You can use it for grants, that kind of stuff. You can also use it for revenue replacement, which is different than the CARES funding. You can also use it for water and sewer projects, and then the 4th one would be back pay or premium pay for essential workers. Those are the 4 things that we know, 4 categories that we know we can use it on. I think that we still have a lot of information to come out yet. One of the big things, the biggest takeaway that I've heard from anything that I've attended is that cities need to slow down, think strategically, and think broadly on what these funds can be used for. And there's a lot of other parts of the ARP bill that the city will want to take advantage of or to optimize the funding as much as possible as well. So I think that although, yes, we're going to be getting these funds, I think we need to really sit down, and I know that the council is talking about doing a workshop once we know the amount and we get additional information on it as well.
And if I can, Mr. Chair, just kind
Yes.
of expounding on
Thank
what
you,
Connie was saying there about looking at other aspects of the bill, the ARP, the original act, the 1.6 or $3 trillion bill, is that there are funds that are set, on the federal level, and then even the state and the counties, and kind of figuring out what is each one of those entities going to be using their money for. then how can we leverage that money in addition to the city's money? Because there may be projects that the city wants to do that we actually don't have to use our money for, that maybe the state or the federal government has money to do that, and we can go after that money to do that project instead, and then save our money to be using on others. That's kind of what they're saying, is try to figure out what all the money that's available, not just what the city's bucket is, before diving in and making decisions as to how that money is going to be allocated, because you could end up allocating money that, city money that you could have allocated state money for.
Good. So we have some time, and there are some workshops going to be held,
Absolutely.
so that will help a lot. Do we need a motion on the budget agenda? I don't think so. We don't need one
No.
there, no.
At this point, just taking direction. If the commission is looking like this is a good calendar, then we'll just plan on these dates that starting in August, we'll start off with having you bring forth the preliminary levy. We should have that ready for you to look at and send to the council, and then having discussion on budget, as a commission, your priorities for the 2022 budget.
Good, yes.
I was wondering if Connie or someone else in the finance department could take some time with me and go over the details, the ins and outs of what the budget is before
It's
the
really
next meeting.
simple, Tony. We get money from the taxpayers and we give it to Bladek.
Well, there's a little more to it. So if you want to, I would love to sit down with you guys to go over it. Okay, thank you.
And I think that's the last thing I'll have. It's kind of budget related. The city, I think, and I'll pump up Connie here. We finished the audit, and the EDA is part of that audit, and we went through flying colors. So thank you, Connie, and the rest of the finance staff. That is done. That has been submitted to the state. So
That's a big deal.
good thing.
Big deal, good job. All right, now we have a celebration to talk about. 150 years, Jesse, if you'd come please, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. So just an update on the sesquicentennial. We have a nice lineup of events for the week of September 18th through the 25th. You can kind of see the ones that are confirmed in that first kind of group of events. Each one hosted by a various local organization, touches on the history of Brainerd and offers some community building activities. You can see there is a space on Sunday and Thursday, which we are assuming and hoping will be filled by a couple events that are still in the work, but just needs complete confirmation from the organizers. And a few of them also just have dates that need to be lined up. And the information for the sesquicentennial events is hosted on the City of Brainerd website. There's a button right on the homepage. It has the calendar events and some other history tidbits. And we got approval from council last week to have a dispatch wrap the week of September 11th going out that will provide the community with big calendar events as well as some other information celebrating Brainerd's history. And the contributing organizations will also be promoting the sesquicentennial through their channels. And July 12th will be the next large group meeting for the organizations to come and provide status for their events. Any questions?
Yes, please.
Have you been contacted by the JCs at all?
Briefly, I know they have something like that 18th, I believe, that they're potentially going to partner with the chamber for the time capsule event.
So there was a reestablishment just this week of Street Fest, which didn't happen last year, and they do want to make that event happen on the 25th.
The 25th, okay.
So if that has anything to do with you shuffling things around.
Well, that would compete with the Soup-Quicentennial.
What's that?
That would compete with the Soup-Quicentennial.
Right. Or they could combine events. But it's, one of those things where it's a big rib cook-off with a concert type thing at the end of the day. So
At the end of the day? Okay.
if
That
you need a
could-
contact, I can always help you with that too.
Please, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
You don't think that'd be good?
I don't know. I suppose you could have soup for lunch and ribs for dinner. I don't know.
Everybody's got to eat.
Everybody eats food. It's a profitable little venture if you do it right, I think. Wayne knows.
Good, Jesse, that's great update.
thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like things are moving along very nicely. Good, good. People are excited?
We got a lot of good feedback from the organizations and on Facebook as well.
I have a question.
Groups as well. They have a lot of enthusiasm for events going on.
Jesse, we have one more question from Commissioner Gabe.
Yeah, this looks exciting. It's cool that so many things are falling into place and coming together. Even it looks like it's being all done by DDBC, but hey, we'll take it. My question is, this is September 18th through the 25th. Your internship's going to be long done by then. Are you going to come visit and be at the sesquicentennial events?
So I do have 67 days here, and so we are working it out. So it was 67 days stretch until the end of that.
Oh, so the 25th will be Jesse's 67th day.
Exactly, celebration of all of us. So we are making it work, and I will be here for that week.
Excellent.
Oh, thank you so much. That'll be
Jesse,
good.
they specifically scheduled Jesse. She works 4 9s, so they can stretch those. How the law seems to work is they don't care how long you work each day. Is that if you work at any time during that day, they count it as a day. So that's why Jesse spends a little longer here Monday through Thursday to kind of stretch that out.
Good, thank you for doing that. That'll be great to have you on board during the whole celebration to kind of coordinate and make sure everything runs smoothly. Good. Any more questions or comments for Jesse? Thank you again. Big load to throw on you. Big celebration. Thank you for doing that. Good. Thank you for being excited about it. All right, commissioners, any comments here as we close out? Anyone? Tony?
I'm excited for the 4th of July celebration coming up. We will have a float. I believe Commissioner Johnson will be on there as well as myself.
I think that's the extent of it.
Just looking forward to getting back to normal 4th of July celebration, so excited about the weekend.
Good. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you, any of you saw in the newspaper or reading legislation late at night, but the state did pass their budget, and included in the budget is $2.85 million for the city of Brainerd to build a park over by the river, and it'll be a new park, and we've had citizen committees working on this for like 15 years, so it's really excited that this is happening, and we are going to, within the next year or two, have a new park where there is currently a parking lot on East River Road by the high rise. We're going to have access to the river and some green space, and it'll be much more attractive than the current 30-year-old parking lot that is sitting there. And I am going to probably call for creating an ad hoc committee. I was hoping Kelly would be here so he could groan as I announced that, but he's not. But I think we're going to have an ad hoc committee kind of manage the building of that. So if you're interested in that, look forward to getting an application in on that.
Excellent. Good. I did read that in the paper. That was exciting to see. The layout, is that layout really the final draw?
No, the architects draw really pretty things, and the engineers come in and tell us it doesn't cost $2 million, it costs $10 million. So we have to pick what we want.
Okay. That will be a boost or a negative for you, Eric, or?
I think it'll be great. It'll be great on a number of fronts. Number one, the riverfront. I mean, think of the amount of river frontage that we have in green space from that park now all the way south. It's huge. It's a huge amenity to the city. It's going to be a great amenity for our residents that's just adjacent to this park. I'm very excited about it. It'd be great for the school district. It's just a good project that I'm excited that is going to go forward.
I think it'll be very positive for the city of Brainerd, our school district. It's just a huge addition. Yeah, it's going to be good. Any other comments?
Chair Erickson?
Yes.
Two things. I just wanted to comment on, David made a comment about county passing the audit. The county also passed their audit for all of the CARES Act and all of the grant funds that went out, found no outstanding issues, so everything went through without without a hitch there, so that's a great thing. It's always nice when Connie would nod her head. It's always nice when you pass an audit.
Yes.
So all of that happened. The second thing is that we have been approved through a state organization to have an intern in our office, and we will have an intern probably from, depending on when someone can be available, from the middle of August through the end of the year. It's a matching grant that we received, so if anyone has any relatives, children, whatever, we're looking for a college student that is interested in not only the world of economic development, but we plan to expose them to city government, county government, all of that as well. So if someone has someone that they know that has some interest in that, please send them my way. And it'll more than likely be Allison Medic in our office that'll be managing that. But we do have that, and we'd really like to get somebody in our office for a few months.
Great
Through our budget
opportunity.
process too, so.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Great opportunity. Good. Anyone else? Anything else? Well, it's 8:23. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second? Anyone? I'll second it.
You can't second it.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.